And as you can tell from the countdown clock, the lesson is about to get started. In case you're new with this, there's a few things I'd like to show you to help you throughout the lesson. Today is a beginner's lesson, which means the assumption is you know nothing. Now, it would help if you checked out the Absolute Beginner's Lesson Pack that walks you through some of the terminology and shows you the names of the notes and things like that. But even if you don't know the names of the notes, you've never read music before, you don't know anything about the beats or anything about the piano, that's fine. You're in the right place. You'll do great. Ask a lot of questions. It's a beginner's lesson, so all questions are fair game. No questions are too dumb. These lessons are always guided and shaped by your questions, and if you're live with us today, there's a couple different ways you can do that. One is in the public live chat, and the other is the Ask Jamin a Question button, where you can ask me a question privately, and I won't share your identity in case you're afraid that your question is stupid. But it's not. If you're in the archives, though, then just open up the survey. At the end of that, there's a place where you can ask your question. I will say I frequently get questions from students in the archives watching a lesson from 6 months ago, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So please try to be as specific as possible. If you're watching this at learnpianolive.com, there should be a PDF and an MP3 button right next to this video. The PDF will often have additional video links inside so you can get more in-depth instruction on each of the topics. And if you're the kind of person who likes to print out the PDF so you can make the same notes on your physical version as I'm making during the lesson, now would be the time to do that. The MP3 is just a play-along track so you can practice more after the lesson. In traditional lessons, a teacher is going to actually present some new concept for maybe 5 or 10 minutes every couple weeks. The rest of the time is going to be spent applying and refining those concepts. Well, here I'm spouting off hours of new information every week, so it's totally unreasonable to expect you to actually absorb all of that. Instead, the goal of these live lessons is for you to find some little nugget of something that makes sense, but is a bit of a challenge, and for you to go practice it, because practice is where all the improvement's going to happen. So don't feel bad if you have to leave the live lesson and you find that little thing that you're going to practice. And of course, if I'm going too fast, you can always rewind the live lessons or replay in the archives as much as you want. If these live lessons start feeling random or meandering, it's because they are, on purpose. So if you're the kind of person who wants classical training with a step-by-step method, then you're going to want to check out Plopple Academy on the website. It's included in your live lesson subscription, so you can do both or either. And the upper levels are seriously hard work, but it's going to take you all the way from ground zero all the way up to being ready to enter any major music college as a piano major in classical or jazz. And finally, today we're going to be focused on a particular style of piano, because for non-pianists, they either see that a person can play piano well or they can't play piano well. But for people who play, there's all kinds of nuance, even between good pianists. It's kind of the same as how you have different accents within the same language. So for a person who doesn't speak English at all English pretty much sounds the same. But for example, here in America, this nondescript refreshing beverage is either a soda or a pop, depending on where you grew up. So in other words, today we're going to be making broad, sweeping generalizations about a particular genre of piano, because whether you're playing jazz or gospel or country or new age, they all have their own idioms and their own stereotypes. So let's try something new, y'all. All right, so welcome, and today we are doing, I've titled it Old Timey Piano, but it's really New Orleans Jazz, New Orleans Piano. But if I titled it New Orleans Piano, then no one would know what I was talking about. So let's get into some of this stuff. The first thing you're going to need is the Kansas City Blues Scale, which seems odd once I tell you that we're playing New Orleans Piano, that I teach you the Kansas City Blues. It seems like the wrong city, but just hang on. It'll be all right. First note that you're going to need is a C. To find a C, you're just going to take any group of 2 black notes and take the note right below it. It's always going to be a C right there. So you're going to play a C. I've given you the sheet music for this and also kind of the diagram. The diagram is the way that I think of it, because I'm not really thinking about letter names as I'm going through this. I'm not thinking about a C and a D and an E flat and an E and a G and an A. I'm really just, in my mind, seeing this pattern right here. So it's this thing right here and this thing, all the notes surrounding a group of 2 black notes, and then skipping a note, and then playing 2 more, and then skipping a note, and then just repeating that pattern again with the addition of this black note right here. It's called an E flat. So that's the way it looks and feels in my brain. But if you want the sheet music for it, here you've got a C, and then a D, and then an E flat, and then an E, and then a G, and an A. And this is the C Kansas City Blues scale. So it's going to be C, D, E flat, E, G, A. And like I said in the intro, these are broad, sweeping generalizations about New Orleans piano. This is not New Orleans piano as played by a New Orleans pianist. This is just the outside looking in, kind of if you want to fake your way through New Orleans piano, I'm going to give you kind of the big clumps of information that and the big licks from the style that are going to make you kind of sound New Orleans piano-ish to a non-New Orleans pianist. Okay, so those are the notes that we need. Now the scale is going to fit in with the track that you have. The track that you have is kind of fast because it's going to take some practice to get there. So you will not be there by the end of the lesson, but your track sounds like this. And even if you can't play it quickly, you can still just kind of groove along. That's a note. That didn't sound terrible. That didn't sound terrible. That didn't sound terrible and is combined with that one. In fact, that sounds kind of cool. That was super not horrible. With some practice. And we're already playing some stuff that sounds kind of right-ish. Yikes. So we got a little bit scary there at the end. But the way that, because I know you're screaming at your computer screen right now, like, how did you know which ones to play? Well, first, you can just pick random notes out of there, and yours is not going to sound as good as mine because I'm the one playing mine. And every time that you're the one playing it, especially as a beginner, like you just have all of these questions and questioning yourself about like, oh, surely this isn't right. Like I'm just picking random notes. This can't sound good. And so as you hear yourself play, you hear yourself as a terrible pianist. When it's somebody else listening to you, might go, wow, that person knows a lot of piano. That sounds really great. So it sounds like New Orleans piano. So the first reason is that I'm playing it and you're not. The second reason is that I'm playing what I'm hearing. In other words, like when you're telling a story, you already kind of like can see at least one step, even if you've never told the story before, even if you're making it up, you can at least see like the next step in your story. You know that the hero is going to encounter and your brain just filled something in. It might have been a dragon, it might have been a villain, it might have been a something, but your brain already kind of like makes up whatever the next step is. You don't know how that villain or dragon's going to get defeated yet. You just know that that next step is out there. And when you get there, you trust that you'll figure it out. Or you won't, and it'll end up being a horrible story. So I'm not sure that by the end of the solo, I'll be proud of what I played, but I can at least hear that next note or two. The way that I got there is that I sung everything that I played, and then if I sung something and I couldn't play it yet, I tried to play what I could sing. So the marriage of the singing and the playing, the hearing and the playing, is really, really super key to it. So that means just right now, like your ear doesn't hear anything. I play the track, and you're like, yeah, I don't know what would sound right here. Well, you do know what would sound right here. One of these notes. So play one of those notes. Now sing that note. Dum, dum. Now sing something using that note. Dum, dum, da, dum, dum. Cool, now we'll play it. And yeah, now we sing it and play it. Bum, bum, ba, bum, bum. And then we can start adding in, expanding, maybe up to this note. So bum, bum, ba, dum, bum. Oh, that's cool. Let's try it again. Bum, bum, ba, dum, bum. Yeah, I really like it when it emphasizes that note. Dum, da, da, dum. And you'll find that you start to expand this into greater and greater regions. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-dum, dum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-bum, ba-da-ba-ba-dip-dip-dip-dip-bum, It will happen. Not in the 20 minutes that we have together today, but it will happen if you just start out with those really basic things. Sing everything you play everything you sing, and eventually all the stuff that you learn how to play will make you sing better, and all the stuff that you sing will make you play better, and it will be super awesome. Trust me, just sing everything you play and play everything you sing. But for right now, let's just play through this thing. Yours at home is going to sound horrible to you, most likely, but try it anyway. You got these notes right here. You don't have to play as fast or as large an area as I'm playing at all. And then just try to make up some stuff. And we'll just jam together here for a couple minutes and see if you can get this Kansas City Blues scale. You'll hit some wrong notes probably accidentally. That's totally cool. Just go with it. By go with it, I mean just play the right note next time. Okay. So then, eventually you'll start playing some of that stuff, and it will start to come together and sound like a thing. I guess I was out of your range there for the last little part there. So then, we have all that stuff, the Kansas City Blues scale, which I'm not telling you exactly what to play. For some of you, that's a problem. For some of you, that's a feature. But the exact notes are those ones, and the thing that you should be playing is start with C and expand out from there. Make sure you expand in both directions. So most people are going to get stuck right in this range because playing this thing right here, this is a pattern in your head, and then this is a separate pattern in your head, and eventually it just needs to be like one fluid pattern over the entire piano. So we want that, and then on down. So try it over 2 octaves. We call these octaves these groups of repeating notes. So try it over 2 different octaves, and after that, the expanding out to 3 and 4 and 5 octaves should be relatively simple. Try this thing lower than you think is going to sound good and higher than you think is going to sound good, because oftentimes the outside of this little tiny range right here also sounds super cool. So you come up with stuff like, for example, this. So that's like up as high as it can go, and then it sounds kind of cool down here too. I gotta try not to go outside of the scale I've told you about. So all of that can sound really cool too. So that's like very, very opposite ends of the spectrum. And then most of the soloing that you're going to feel comfortable with is right in this range. So just know that eventually you want to move out to all the various parts of the piano and try stuff in there, and you'll find stuff that sounds cool. Like down here, like I guess I was going to say the octaves. Right up here, like you can play stuff that's pretty close together, like notes that are like that. And down here, like once you start clustering notes together, it's too much. Probably like an octave. That sounds pretty cool, but it didn't get any closer than an octave together, and stuff just sounds really super muddy. None of that sounds good to me. Unless you like it, then you should play it a lot. Okay, so then when I came down here, I played a bunch of left hand stuff. Up here, it was all right hand stuff because my right hand is on the right side of my body. My left hand is on the left side of my body, which makes all that more easier to play that with the right hand up there. So all the low stuff that's going to sound super cool is going to be this stuff right here. We're going to add to it in the coming days. But eventually, this stuff right here all sounds great if you can play that. But then once you don't have your track anymore, then like you go over to your friend's house. They're like, hey, so I heard you starting piano. You're like, yeah, I can play some piano. They're like, what do you know? Like, I only went to New Orleans piano lessons so far. Like, play me some New Orleans piano. You're like, okay, cool. But that's like not a song. You can't really just like noodle around like that and impress a whole lot of people. So this left hand. Like already I'm playing fewer notes than I played in the right hand. And this sounds like I'm about to play a song. This sounds like something if I just I'm only playing one note here in the right hand, and already it sounds better. Simplifying my notes, putting them in the left hand, and then playing some right hand. Let me show you exactly which notes to play. So, briefly, because we've got entire workshops dedicated to this stuff, let me say that in this song and in most songs, you're going to be counting in sets of 4. In other words, this one. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of these chunks right here between these bar lines is a set of 4. So this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the end of your track. The track is like, I don't know, 7 minutes long, and you only have 8 groups of 4 here because it just all repeats over and over and over and over again. So we got sets of 4. You're going to play each note for 2 beats. So every 2 beats, we're going to have to switch. 1, 2. Another set of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 per measure. There's 8 measures. That means that there's 16 notes that you need to know. But it's easier than that because it shows up in a predictable pattern. If we just get rid of all of this nonsense and pay attention to the big fat letters that are up here, then we can not have to know any of the rest of this stuff. We're just going to pay attention to C, F, C, G, C, G, and then repeat. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The C gets 2 measures, so 2 sets of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The F is going to get 2 sets of 4. Now we do need to be able to find the F. Let's go back and see if we can go to the close-up version. There we go. There we go. F. That's a C. Yeah, good, cool. So F for 2 measures, then C for 1 measure, G for 1 measure, C for 1 measure, G for 1 measure. And we could just do that. Then we can play along with this track with the left hand and already start to sound a little bit more like a solo pianist, meaning you don't need the track. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, And at some point, we'll try to memorize this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's F for 2 measures, 2 sets of 4. C, and then G, and then back to C, and then back to G, and then we start the whole thing over again. So C for 2. 1, 2, 3, F, 2, 3, 4, 2, C, G, C. And then you're already playing half of the notes that are on there, because at the beginning of each measure, you're just playing the note that is supposed to go for that measure. So on a C chord, during the time for the C, you play a C at the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4 is something different. Don't worry about it. And then once we get back to 1, 2, bam, we're back at the C again. So you already know the first notes. You've already played that one, and you've 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 played that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. So the only question is, what are those other notes? The 3, 4. Are those a predictable pattern? Yes, indeed. 7 half steps away from here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 of the little mini steps, the next note overs. If you go 7 next note overs from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you'll find the other note that you're supposed to be playing on the 3, 4. So when your pinky is here, your thumb should rest pretty comfortably right there on that next note that you're supposed to be playing. So 1, 2, something else. The something else is where your thumb is. So that's why I don't have to look at my hand, because my thumb is just already resting there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is a lot of motion here, and the track is pretty busy, and it's kind of fast. So we shouldn't be able to do this immediately necessarily along with the track, but this is the goal right here. You're just playing the pinky, which is that one you were already playing before, but now you're playing with your pinky so your thumb can go up and catch that second note. And then we switch to the F. 1, 2, something else, 7 half steps away, or where your thumb naturally rests. Naturally, the thumb rests right there if we go 1 finger per note. But let's just double check and make sure it's at 7 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is. Congratulations. Right there. Pinky and thumb. So that's the F. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go down to the C. And then we got to go to G. Pinky on the G. Where's your thumb? Goes right there. Back to the C. And then the G. There we go. So that's all of them. We're going to try that with the track. Let's go. On your mark, get set. 1, 3, 4. And now it's time for the F right there. Did I mention this track is kind of fast? Then C. Then G. Then C. And then G. Once you can do this comfortably, adding in the right hand won't be too terrible at all. I'm going to take this down an octave though, so it sounds a little deeper, a little bit fuller. And F. And C. And G. And C. And G. Kansas City Blues. Sorry, cheated on that last one. bummer. Just when I was starting to have some fun. So that right there. This is your stuff right here. This isn't tomorrow's stuff. You can't do this yet. You can't do this. But you can do this. And you start goofing around with this thing too. And eventually just add in very, very, very simple parts here with this thing down here. You'll be off to the races in, I want to say no time. Sometime. A week? A month? Some stuff like that. But it's a lot of fun to play, and a lot of these skills are going to transfer over. The scales are going to be used other places. These notes here are going to be used other places. So, yeah, this kind of basic to a lot of different styles of piano. The 1 and the 5 that you're playing down here is going to come back. And tomorrow we'll talk about the theory behind all this and how it plugs into other genres and stuff, as well as adding in some more notes other than just the Kansas City Blues scale notes tomorrow. But I think for time for well, that's no good. There we go. It's time for our wrap-up. Let me just make sure you're still with me. And come on. There we go. All right, cool. So you're all with me. Okay, so our wrap up here, we talked about the Kansas City Blues. We found a C, and then we played all those notes. We talked about how you want to be able to play it through multiple octaves. And I'm playing all this with just these 3 fingers here, so... through multiple octaves, not a fancy fingering there, just 3 fingers gets you around. In the Kansas City Blues scale, we talked about this here. We talked about the pattern first of the C, and then the F, and then the C, G, C, G, and that gets us through the entire track. And then we talked about what to put in between the notes to give it a little bit more movement. So that'll get us through. And then trying to add in just a single note in here, anything you can, of the Kansas City Blues scale. And then maybe 2 notes, and then 3 notes, playing everything that you're singing, everything that you're playing, and playing everything that you're singing as we go along. Yeah, that's enough for one lesson. You've got your play-along track to kind of groove with there. And let's move on, I guess, for our question and answer time. And if you have not already submitted your questions, do so now. Okay, cool. And first question is, who are some great New Orleans jazz pianists? So there's a guy named Dr. John. Look up Dr. John. There's a guy named Professor Longhair. Who is not with us anymore. Look up some of his stuff. There's a guy that I'm totally digging on right now, John Cleary, Cleary. And I just actually watched like an hour lecture of his today, and it was really super cool. He's the guy in the video before the lesson. So that's him, just kind of running through all the different genres of the subgenres of the New Orleans piano genre. So yeah, he's super cool, and I think he's still alive. Next question: does the Kansas City Blues scale work on other styles too? Yes, indeed it does. So it would work on the Kansas City Blues. That was not a helpful answer. So it works it's really just the pentatonic scale, which is not a word you know if you haven't been to any of the lessons before, but we talk about it a lot in improvisation. So yeah, this thing right here is just the pentatonic scale plus a note. So in the pentatonic scale, if that sounds familiar to you, it sounds very familiar to you because we use it all the time in all kinds of stuff. So yeah, totally. That one right there is kind of like a bluesy, playful note. So if you play the Kansas City Blues, it has like that playful, like jaunty feel to it. So you wouldn't want to play it in like some serious non-jaunty song. So it doesn't fit everywhere. But yeah, definitely the pentatonic scale plus a note. Totally. Yeah, you can totally use that other places too. And I want to make sure I don't miss any others. Okay, I think we're cool. That's the beginning of New Orleans piano, which we're calling old-timey piano. And until next time, if you're in the archives, you're watching this, and you got questions, of course, send them along. But let me know what video you're watching. This is lesson 488, old-timey piano, New Orleans piano. I love you lots. Good luck. Have fun.